Yeah, you know what it is. It's your boy Guess Who. You now tapped into the number one station in the StreetNerdz Radio, and I come to y'all, happy as hell today, man, because I got somebody who I definitely can say I look up to in this arena of which I'm trying to get into. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Brody.
Right on, man. I appreciate that. This is Graffiti that's Graffiti on all social media, and I'm happy to be here, bro. That's good to hear from you, man. I've been following your movement, so it's always dope to be invited onto other platforms, man. I've been fucking with you, man.
Man, I appreciate that. So for the people who ain't too familiar, I guess on my side, let's get familiar. Where you from and how'd you grow up, bro?
I'm from Montbello. With that said, I grew up with the typical nigga from Montbello's setting, single parent home, grew up around the homies, never really banged or nothing like that, but I did move around, did do my thing, but, made positives out of negatives. That's all I could say.
Was it hard to avoid what they would say, like, regular nigga shit? Like, as far as, like, the gangs and stuff like that, because in the city, it's almost here, it seems like if you're from Denver, that is almost like something that you are taught to be a part of in elementary.
Right. No, that's no lie, bro. I wouldn't say it was hard to avoid it, and I think that's just because the way I came up and the people I came up around, I was always Mr. Neutral in the middle of so many different situations. You know what I mean? Like, the OGs might be Crips, but the homies my age might be Bloods. But my relatives over here might be doing this, and then my relatives over here might be in the church. So I was always I was the one in the middle where everybody's like, nah, bro, you go be smart or something. Like, we could tell you gonna be the one, so you stay out of that. So it wasn't hard to avoid it. If anything, it was hard for me to not, I might have wanted to dibble and dabble, you know what I mean? But being pushed away from it, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that hard.
So you would just say the people around you was just, I guess, the right influence enough to be like, this probably ain't your way. Yeah,
they were definitely positive influences, even though they was doing some negative shit.
Right.
But yeah.
As a youth, what was your growing up? What did you want to be?
Growing up, man, I always wanted to be on the radio. I mean, I tell people from jump, I took a weird route to get to where I'm at now, but that's always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be on air. I used to watch Martin a lot. I always wanted to be like Martin, bro. That WZUP, yeah. I wanted to do that. I'm like, that shit just looks dope, man. Then listening to KDKO, Dr. Daddy-O, and all that, I was like, man, I want to do that. And I always was into art, so I always drew. I was always the dude. That's hence my name, Graffiti. I was always just tagging something up, doing all that, and that turned into designing for the artists and the DJs and the radio personalities, right, which turned into producing music. And it's a whole route that got me to where I'm at. But at the end of the day, I always wanted to be on radio.
Was it a moment, or what was the thing that got you involved in art?
I don't know, man. I think, of course, we were little kids growing up watching cartoons and all that and just doodling. And just once I realized I'm actually kind of nice at it, people be like, oh man, draw a picture of me or draw a Spider-Man or something. And I could really do it for real. I hit high school and people would just have me drawing stuff. So that turned into me printing it on shirts, which turned into, shout out to Mystic, 5280 Mystic. Yo, if you could do that, I know you could design an album cover. Draw me an album cover or something like that. And that turned into a whole different thing. And I'm like, damn, I can make money off of this. And so I just took that route, man, and just stuck with it.
So you're saying 5280 Mystic was the first person to...
Yeah, I could say that for sure. I always tell bro we need a documentary because, like, a lot of first that happened in this city happened in his basement, man. Like, I remember the Box Boy movement. We was all in there, Trev, AP, everybody, bro. It was all
You were a part of that movement.
Yeah, I was doing everybody's art. I was doing everybody's MySpace. Okay. I was doing everybody's all that. I was producing beats. I did a track, Ain't I Clean, for Mystic. and that was the track that really was like, all right, maybe I could produce too. And I started doing that for a little bit. But I did Mystic's album cover. I did His Brother Insane. I did, man, that whole camp. And it was just, all right, Graffiti's the nigga that do our covers. And it just kind of became that. And then I start locking in with K-Tone and doing all their covers and for the whole Elite Gang, all that. And
how was that connection going from the Box Boys to a K-Tone, who had, I guess you would say, was the generation above the Trev and them?
Yeah, that transition was kind of easy for me because I was already under that umbrella of the K-Tones and the Elites and Ike and Cac and all them, because I'm from Montbello. Like they was literally right up the street from me. So I already kind of came from that, but I was just around. I wasn't really doing shit. Like I knew K-Tone, he's a big homie, but I wasn't really doing that. And so when I got in the mix with Mystic and Trev and all them and started designing for them, you know, that kind of opened up that path, because, you know, Trev or K-Tone was DJing for Trev
in the early time.
Yeah, in the early times. So it was kind of a smooth pathway to do what I do, and everybody and their mama needed cover art.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody on the rap. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody, once they figured out the nigga that do graphics, it was me, Priest, J1 and Sauce at the time. And like Sauce was on the way to kind of transition out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, J1's, I call him Mr. Miyagi. He's just like, if you get a J1 cover, nigga, you that nigga. So, you know, and then Priest was literally in the Box Boys. He was one of the artists, you know what I'm saying? So me kind of maneuvering in there, that was my role. Like, all right, bro can do the shit Priest ain't gonna do or whatever. And I was cool with that. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna get in and I'm gonna just be nice with this shit to the point that it's undeniable. And,
so two graphic designers in one camp.
Yeah.
Priest.
Yeah.
Now was there ever like y'all put up like the same project and seeing who was gonna pick? Like, did anybody ever put y'all in that situation?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. In the early times, like, it was always we going to Priest first. Like, that was the thing. Like, you know, and I can't, you know, I can't hate on that. Priest was in the camp, so it's like, all right, Priest is gonna do this. But as Priest started to develop as an artist and was doing a lot of his own shit, like, nigga just wasn't available. So a lot of it, you know what I mean? A lot of it came down to me, and then that turned into just the whole city kind of buzzing about, all right, who does y'all's graphics? Who's the dude doing y'all flyers and all that? And I just took on that role and just ran with it.
Was there ever a point where you felt like you wanted to just give this shit up?
Oh, absolutely. Shit, bro, yesterday. But nah, that comes with it, man. That comes with being a creative. It's, you know, you have those moments. I know early in my career, I felt like I was kind of just boxed in as the flyer guy or the designer nigga. And I'm like, man, I could do so much more. And like, mind you, at the end of the day, I never really wanted to do that shit as a career.
Right.
I was just nice at it. So, and the opportunity was there and I was making money. So I just stuck with it. But I'm like, this ain't really what I see myself doing, man. But it was kind of hard to, you know, you get that guilt. Like, niggas be like, damn, ain't nobody in the city doing graphics no more. Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I got you. And that I got you just turns into
a million.
Yeah. And it's like, damn, well, I am making money. So then you got that internal conflict. Well, like, damn, do I do this because I'm making money and they need me, or do I go pursue what I really want to do? I had them moments all the time, bro.
What was the worst customer interaction when
shit.
it came to dealing with graphics?
Damn near all of them, bro. Nah, the worst, I ain't gonna call nobody out, but there is a handful of people, and it's usually promoters that just need shit immediately, bro. And they need shit immediately. They don't really know what they want. You know what I mean? I'm still waiting on that invoice to get paid. There's like, I can't identify one specific because there's so many. Right. That's the reason why I don't do the shit no more. There's so many of them where it's like, especially in this city, man, you know how it goes. Not everything is often professional around this motherfucker. So there's processes and there's all that. Once people realize that I'm kind of for real about what I do, it gets a little tricky. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, yo, call Priest.
Yeah, go ahead, call him.
Go call Priest.
Hey,
now.
go call him now.
Yeah.
So what would you say from the artist standpoint? What is the biggest gem that you would tell your younger self on the journey that you were getting as far as your artistry?
Oh, from the art standpoint, I would say, man, everything is building up to something. I'm just now recently realizing that a lot of what I did back then is like, I don't want to say paying off, but it got me ready for what I'm doing now in a professional sense, dealing with those tough peoples or building those relationships that might come back from shit just happened. Like, damn, bro, you did my art years ago. What's happening? And that turns into something else. And like back then in the moment, it was just, all right, I'm gonna get this money. I'm gonna try to be the nicest with this graphic shit. And I didn't really want to do that shit. But now it's like, all right, if I can go back and tell myself just like, all right, bro, stick it out, but be a little more dominant in your lane. Like, I was real humble about what I was doing, which allowed people to kind of just do what the fuck they want. And I just went along with it. You know what I mean? Because I was making money. I didn't really care. But I would have probably put my foot on a little bit more next back then.
Do you feel like a lot of times being humble holds people back?
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah. Being humble, being passive, that's been a lot of my downfall over the years. I can openly admit that. Like sometimes, bro, you gotta just, I'm that nigga and I know it. Sometimes you gotta prove that shit. Like,
fuck yeah.
Not even just for anybody to be stunting or nothing. Sometimes you gotta do that shit for yourself, because then that doubt creeps in once you stop doing that. Like, damn, well, maybe so-and-so is a little bit nicer, or shit, maybe I ain't really meant for this. Then you gotta wake up like, nah, man, fuck that. Like, I'm the one in this shit.
I'm the one.
You know what I mean? And then that's just gonna give you that fire under your ass to go do what you need to do.
So then we transition from, because now we transition to the podcast.
For sure.
Life is Dope. 5 years ago.
Yeah. Damn, it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years. What was the conversation leading up to the actual having your first episode?
It was a process, man. So I'll take you through it. So Life is Dope. Dope was my brand. Merch, clothing, my graphics, my media, all that was just under Dope. Fast forward, I had a birthday party. I called it Life is Dope. You know what I mean? That turned into merch. That turned into a bunch of stuff. So I just stuck with Life is Dope. It caught in the city. It was catchy. Fucked with it. So my guy Davey boy, super producer, we had a collective called Super Dope.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Dave's my dude. We've been homies forever. So the conversations were going back and forth. It's like, yo, bro, we need to just do something with this shit. You know what I mean? And he would be like, let's start a podcast. And I ain't gonna front, like, I wasn't really, I ain't want to do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, I'm doing what I do, whatever. I'm trying to get here. I was dabbling in radio already. Me and Big Mike had a podcast called Your Favorite Show, and we had just ended that. And like, I wasn't sure I wanted to get back into doing that type of shit, the commitment and all that. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm trying to do something else. He stay on my ass, bro. We got to do a podcast. People fucking with us. We funny on Twitter. Yada, yada, yada. We got to do a podcast. I'm like, bro, like, you realize, like, if you know my personality, like, if we do this shit, we on go. You know what I mean? Like, we doing this shit.
We doing it.
You know, so we dabbled around. We did a few episodes that never seen the light of day. We did about 5 or 6 that never seen the light of day. Had guests and all that shit, and it just we wasn't clicking. I don't know what it was. Like, you know, we ain't had the right equipment. The vibe wasn't right. We were still just trying to figure shit out. And then finally, man, we found a spot out in Rhino. I hate saying Rhino, but Rhino. It was Megafauna. Shouts to John at Megafauna. He gave us a spot to actually record, which helped a lot, because you need somewhere to do this shit.
Right.
So once we was set and kind of had our setting, the conversation just flowed better. And I'm like, damn, bro, we might be on to something. So we did that, and it picked up, bro. And so, like, with podcasting and media in general, you're able to open a lot of doors that you aren't able to open in other ways, because everybody wants to come talk. Everybody wants to tell their story. Everybody wants to promote some shit. Everybody wants to do that. So with that platform, you know, I might get an opportunity as a designer. He might get an opportunity as a producer or artist. But, you know, now it's like, oh, yo, I could hit so-and-so's manager that I designed for and get him on the show, yada, yada. So building them relationships started to make sense. And now I'm giving an actual platform. So that shit just took off, man. Shout out to my guy Julius. He was working the boards, and it just went, bro.
From there, what would you say that the biggest difference, because you were ahead of the game, essentially, because it wasn't for me until the last couple years that podcasting became such a big thing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
5 years ago, podcasting wasn't something that people were like, hey, bro, like, let's go do this.
Right.
There wasn't equipment that you can go get at that point 5 years ago. What was the foresight? Like, what were you thinking? Like,
yeah, I just knew, man, like, that was a lot. I'm gonna be honest, that was a lot of the source of my frustration back in that time too, because I just knew, like, and I can't explain it, but, you know, wanting to be in radio and all that, and kind of seeing how traditional platforms was like fizzling a little bit, and just not having that freedom to really do what you want. And, you know, back then the city was, and still the city was always complaining about, you know, we don't get support from so-and-so station or this and that and that. And so I'm like, man, we need that independence. But at the time, I didn't really know that was podcasting. And granted, I did listen to like Combat Jack and all that, and they were podcasting. But, you know, I was doing online radio.
Right.
In my mind, I didn't really think of it as podcasting. And that's because of what you said. There wasn't really all these apps and outlets that we have for what we know now as podcasting. So I'm like, damn, man, let's just get right. So trying to get the right equipment without having any kind of template or guideline on what we need. Like now you could be like, yo, yeah, you need a roadcaster and blah, blah, blah. We was like, fuck it, bro. Let's just use what we have.
Right.
And so back then I knew that was going to be the wave. I'm like, man, I built the Box mobile radio app because I'm like, man, this is going to be the wave. Like people going to be listening to shit on phones, blah, blah, which is now, streaming and all that. It's just going to be the wave. I just didn't have the resources at hand to physically build the shit that I had in my head. And so it was frustrating, and people just wasn't catching on. They're like, it ain't, like, what station do I hear you on, or what channel do I go to?
Yeah.
It ain't that, man. You got to go here. And it just wasn't catching. But once it caught, I'm like, I told you motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
at what moment did it catch? What moment can you specifically point out the moment where you were like, oh yeah, this shit is it. Like,
this is it.
Yeah.
There's two ways I could put that. So for Life is Dope, I knew that we was really, really doing some shit once the mayor's people called us. Like, cause we was doing the interviews and shit, but it was all off the strength of me just using my black book and just hitting up whoever I thought would come on the show. But when they reached out and was like, hey, mayor, blah, blah, he's on his campaign. We're trying to reach out to black media outlets in the city. And I actually had the statistics and, all that to back up that I'm an actual media platform.
Right.
I'm like, oh shit, like we doing something. But then as far as podcasting in general, man, I give a lot of that to both Joe Rogan and Joe Budden. I think they both help people in different, diasporas understand what's going on with this podcast shit. Like, oh wait, this is something. Like, y'all getting deals, y'all getting sponsors. Like, you could do this. Big checks. This is something. And that wasn't until, that was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think from there, people really caught on. And then you see all these companies, the Spotifys and the iHearts, they're buying media companies. And now it's podcasts. Every media company got a podcast division. And they get it now. And I'm like, this is the moment I've been waiting on. And I established myself in that pocket. So now I'm ready for this type of shit. You know what I mean?
How does it feel to be able to, where do we go from Life is Dope to The Connect?
That was it was an interesting transition. So with Life is Dope, man, it got pretty hectic. A big piece of that was, when I said in the beginning, I got this personality, like once I go, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I'm kind of laser focused on what I'm doing. That may be a good or bad thing in some instances, but I just go. So, me and Dave had conversations, and it's like, yo, I know in the future, this is what you want to do as far as, music, blah, blah, blah. This is what I want to do for real. Like, this podcast shit is what I'm doing. So we had them talks, and we pre-recorded a lot of Life is Dope episodes. So what people don't know is, like, we hadn't recorded it way longer than what people thought, but we had so many episodes stacked that it looked like we were still going.
Right.
And so with that, the spot that we was recording at closed, which was a big hindrance because then we was bouncing around trying to do the interviews with people and the shit. You know how that go, bro.
Yeah, because the last one that I seen on Life is Dope is the Bun B.
Yeah. And you see, we wasn't like at a studio now. We went and met him up. So like trying to do that consistently and get guests, and it was like, all right, this shit is becoming a little bit of a hassle, man. So we just had that talk, like let's put it on hold for a minute. And then what we did from there is we started doing the events. So we would do the Drake nights and these parties and shit like that. Like let's try to pivot into Life is Dope kind of being more of just a brand and events until we could figure out this podcast shit. And we just never really got back with the podcast shit. But me still wanting to do it, I just still had that itch. And I was like, man, I had people hit me up like, yo, bring Life is Dope back. I'll be a guest or I'll be a host or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to just do that shit without bro, because that's gonna look away. You know what I mean? I could have easily just been Life is Dope with Graffiti. And it's like, damn, what happened to Dave? Because like Dave is still really my nigga. It ain't like on some co-host shit, the co-host left, I got a new co-host. It's like really my bro. So I didn't want to do that. And so I'm like, man, how can I still do this shit and give it kind of a different vibe so people know this is not Life is Dope. This is some whole other shit. And that's where the Connect came from.
How did he feel when you did make the switch over to the Connect?
I can't speak for him personally, but I mean, shit, we talk every day, so he said he was cool with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he used to, even when we was doing shit together, he would say shit like, like Joe Budden does he was doing the pull up at the time, where he had the Joe Budden podcast, but he'll just do some Joe Budden shit. And Dave like, I'd be like, yo, I can get an interview with so-and-so. He'd be like, get that shit, bro. Like, go do a pull-up with him. You know what I mean? So, like, he was encouraging me to do my own shit. And then everybody been telling me, like, since forever, man, like, you got the voice for this shit. You could be on some journalistic shit. And I I never really looked at myself as a journalist. I was just talking to motherfuckers. But once I really got in that journalist bag, I'm like, yeah, I could do this shit.
How do you feel to be at one of the biggest platforms as far as black media out here? Because when you go to the Connect, you got interviews from all types of different people from the city. How does that feel, knowing that you are a pillar in the city as far as black media?
It still doesn't click, man. It's something I'm still trying to digest, because at the end of the day, like, I turn the mic off and I'm still just me. I still got to go home to my kids and deal with they badass and, deal with the shit at home, and you know how it goes. So it's not really like a fame or nothing like that. Like, I'm still me in my head. So I just feel like it's necessary. I just did this interview with Kevin, CEO for Connect for Health. And, like, for me, that was just important. Like, I'm like, shit, my brothers need health insurance. Let me put this shit out.
Right.
So I wasn't looking at it like, oh, this is about to be the biggest shit in the city. Like, nah, like, that's when I have these conversations is, oh, yo, this artist is dope. And I know they're not about to get no looks nowhere else. Let me just have them on and talk to them real quick. So that's my mindset looking at it. I'm realizing now you do kind of have to have a little bit of a chip when you're moving forward, though, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, I am the top ranked black media out here, so that does come with certain advantages that I could utilize. But it's like, I don't know, bro. That's not really what I'm in it for,
So then, how do you feel about other platforms coming up in the city?
I love it, man. I love it. I think the biggest thing is that we just gotta, I don't want to use the word unify, because to me, we all know how it goes, especially if you're an artist or anything in the city. We got to bring the city together. The shit's not realistic, man. Like, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has their own agendas. Everybody has their focuses and their goals. We don't have to bring the city together, but we do have to realize that we're all after a common goal. So everybody plays a piece in that goal. And so that's a lot of what we're trying to do with the Plug agency, as far as, like, just developing and helping produce podcasts, is, okay, if everybody's going to start having podcasts in the city, let's find a little bit of, like, fluidity between it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, shit, you might be over here. Shit, you might be at Bright Future, but you might need XYZ from over here, and you might, like, we all doing the same shit. So it's like, we might as well not counteract each other. Let's try to make this shit make sense. And I like seeing new platforms come up, because I can't do all this shit. Like, I've tried to have 4 different shows where I'm on all of them motherfuckers, man. Shouts to Washed and the Check-In, and, like, I see these visions creatively. I'm like, oh, this could be dope. But then I can't find the personalities to host, so I just plug myself into that shit. And now I'm wearing 16 different hats. Whereas there's somebody like you, and I'm like, all right, this opportunity would be dope. Instead of me trying to build it, bring that shit to StreetNerdz. You know what I mean? Like, we create this collective, and that's how you really move. And I learned that shit a lot, because I've been going back and forth to Atlanta now. And I'm just like, damn, man, you go downtown, you walk down the street, it's CNN, it's NBC, it's ESPN, it's TNT.
What?
You know what I'm saying?
Just buildings on buildings.
Buildings on buildings.
Studios.
And they all doing they shit in their lane with their crew, and everybody's getting paid, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's either Viacom. It's, you know what I mean? These are all under one shit, but everybody's doing their thing.
Their own shit.
Denver doesn't think like that. And that's what I'm trying to get people on, bro. Like, it's much bigger than, oh, this nigga's doing that, so let me stun on him and do this. It's not, man. We all doing the same shit at the end of the day.
What wisdom would you give up and coming platforms? Or what would you say to the young man who's, like, in high school right now, thinking about college, wanting to get into media, seeing what everybody's doing with the streaming and talking and podcasting? What is the biggest gem that you can give them?
My main thing, man, with media is branding is everything. Not even just media, period. Branding is everything, especially with podcasts. With this big podcast boom and everybody having a podcast, I say podcast is just an extension of your personal brand, man. I say that all the time. If you don't have a personal brand, or you don't have something outside of that podcast that's going to attract people to your platform, you might as well not fuck with it. Because if I go on Apple Podcasts right now and just put in hip hop podcast, I'm going to get 16 million different shits. I'm likely to either click the one that's hosted by somebody I already recognize, or a brand that's associated with something I already like. I'm not about to just click some random shit. You know what I mean? So if you don't have that brand and you don't have your marketing straight, you know, that goes for podcasting, that goes for music, that goes for whatever. It's like, you might as well just try to go get a job somewhere like that, which is cool. You know what I mean? Go do broadcasting, 9 News or some shit like that. But if you're doing an independent platform, you got to have a brand, man. Like, people got to fuck with you, and then they'll listen to you. That's what I would say.
the best interview for you. It don't have to be view-wise or anything. The interview that you would say, if you want the perfect example of what you're going to get with the Connect, what would be that interview?
So for the Connect specifically, there's two of them. There's my very first one, which was the Councilwoman Candy Tabaka. I wanted to really set the tone of what the Connect is, with that being the first episode. Like, I produced the shit out of it, audio-wise, you know what I mean? Like, it took way longer than it should, but I just wanted to set the tone. Like, yo, this is some journalistic shit. This ain't what y'all was used to. And then just having somebody of that stature for the very first episode, I would say that really helped. And then recently, my man Theo Wilson, he's on History Channel, show called I Was There. He does a lot of shit, man. Look him up, Theo J. Wilson. I think the way that conversation flowed and him having that thespian type voice and like really forcing me to be in my bag with the questions, because I know he knows his shit. I think, you know what I mean? I think those two really was like, all right, this is, if I have to show anybody, and then visually, like, I had that shit produced really dope. So those would be my two. Which
one was you would say the funnest? Because you didn't have some characters.
Hell yeah. The funnest, man, is easily, we had all the fun ones on Life is Dope, which is, I'm about to get back to the fun interviews, man. I got a little too serious lately. But the fun one was on Life is Dope. The funnest one was Cassidy Banks, the porn star. And everybody still brings that shit up. They're like, bro, how'd you interview a porn star? And like, that one still gets, bro, every time I go on YouTube, that shit's like, going. I don't even look at the comments because it's ridiculous, but that shit is still going. I'm like, damn, like, audio-wise, production-wise, that shit was trash. So I hate even bringing it up. Like, I go to it, we was doing long-ass commercials in the beginning. I'm like, dude. But that one was fun as shit. That one, DJ Kid Capri was dope. He had a bone to pick with some niggas that day, so we cut a lot out of that episode. But
why would you hope? Why?
Because
is it not, you didn't want that attached, like just the messiness?
It wasn't even that. I think in that specific, we had a couple of these in those specific instances where they were like going at somebody that was about to be on the platform, and we didn't want to fuck up our, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even about being messy. He was like, damn, bro, if I air this, I probably ain't about to get the interview with dude, because he gonna think we gonna hear shitting on you.
Yeah.
So it was kind of being political, but
in those situations, do you make what's your face like? I be seeing, like, you know, Kanye West is notorious for putting people in bad situations when he start talking.
Yeah.
Do you keep a straight face?
Nah, I love it personally. Like, once you about to really get into that shit, like
what?
I'm thinking, okay, now you comfortable. You know what I mean? Now we having a real conversation. But in the back of my head, I'm like, all right. And that happened on the, I'm gonna be honest, that happened on the Connect recently. This nigga, man, Terrance Roberts. Yeah, so T-Rob. You know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. That I love that episode because it was intentionally disruptive. Like, I knew the response we was gonna get from interviewing Terrance. And I know Terrance, you know what I mean? So I knew he was gonna keep it 100 with me. But there was a lot in that interview that did not make the interview once I published it, because it just didn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even on some, this is going to happen because it is. Everybody knows his story. Everybody knows his affiliations. We already know how it goes.
We know it.
But at the end of the day, I'm still a nigga from Montbello, meaning I'm still associated with a lot of individuals, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of that shit just didn't feel right with me. And I'm like, damn, bro, like,
is it hard to separate
that
for you? Is that hard to separate for you? Like,
nah, it's not. I mean, if you know what I'm saying, if you come from your environment, bro, if you're a real nigga, you know when some shit ain't.
It's not saying right.
Some
with your
shit
spirit.
Ain't all right. If somebody come in here and y'all have a conversation and somebody say a certain name or somebody say some shit that's against a certain code, all that media shit kind of go to the side. Like, mentally, you like, nah, bro, I ain't putting this shit out. You know what I mean? Or you like, nah, bro, don't, like, or you check him in the moment. But professionalism, like, nah, edit point right here, this shit ain't going out, because that's gonna look fucked up on me. And you know what I mean? Beyond media, some niggas that's not gonna like what you just said, and I'm not gonna be the one to be in the middle of that.
How you feel about Terrance running from here?
I think it's interesting, man. I like it from a standpoint of that's what should happen. You know, I fuck with a lot of political people, but I hate politics, and I'm not the biggest fan of politicians in general. But I think if we do give the opportunity to the people, the real people, that's what it should be. Now, not saying what comes from that, but shit, man, if you feel like you can run for mayor and you tired of this shit, do that shit. Because all we do is just get on Facebook and complain about shit anyway. So if you feel like you can make a change from the inside and you can gather, which Terrance is doing, you can gather funding and you can gather your crowd. I mean, shit, that's how fucking Trump got in office. Like, you're like, nah, man, I'm gonna make the difference. And, you know, you might have people that support that. So I ain't gonna knock nobody. Like, you know, I dibble and dabble with the ideas, of running for, city council and all that. But morally, I know I got some shit that I can't really.
Yeah, because this getting notorious with these commercials and stuff that they doing for some of these politicians.
Yeah, man, I just know there's certain shit. In
middle school, we stole some bubble gum from Lil Zach.
Yeah, I know there's some shit that's gonna come up on me. It's like, no, this nigga cannot. But yeah, bro, I think it's awesome. If you feel like you can make a change, do that shit, or try to at least.
Right.
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
What does 2023 hold for you in everything that you're doing?
2023 is a big year, man. I did a lot of self-discovery over the past couple years, just trying to understand myself, bro. Like, I was so on go mode with so much shit, I kind of forgot what the fuck I was even doing and why I was doing it for. I was just doing it. So a lot of pieces kind of fell by the wayside, or, just shit kind of just didn't pan. So I'm position now. Right now, I'm a producer up at Kuvo in the Drop, and so I'm positioned now where I'm seeing things from the inside on how corporate works, and so it's putting me in a different space mentally because I've done this shit independently for so long. But as you know, man, trying to do shit on your own, like it's a blessing and a curse because we're constantly just trying to build the plane while we're flying it. It's like, damn, now that I see how shit kind of moves, now I see how these platforms and these real outlets really get money and shit. I'm like, damn, I'm hustling backwards. So with 2023, man, it's getting this funding. It's getting the social media up. It's getting the marketing team. It's team building, period. Like, outside of production and people pushing buttons, like, where's the legal team at? You know what I mean? Where's my PR team at? What are we really doing?
Right.
That's 2023. That's the professional corporate shit. That's what I'm on.
Podcast or radio?
Oh, podcast. That's easy. Yeah.
Podcast.
Let me say though, I think it's important, especially now with all these different platforms, that people know that not everything is a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, there's medians in between podcast and radio, and people get them confused. So, if I make social content or if I make interviews, which I'm not gonna lie, that's what y'all gonna start seeing with the Connect, where it's not a whole long, hour-long shit. Might just be 5 minutes, and I throw that shit on TikTok and Instagram. It's not a podcast, you know what I mean? It's not radio, it's not a podcast, this is just social content. And I think a lot of people are starting to confuse the two, and it's starting to kind of muddy the actual podcast waters because everybody thinks everything is a podcast, and it's not, bro.
But your top podcast right now.
Right now.
Can't say yours.
Yeah, nah. Damn, right now it's constantly changing, but right now I'm really fucking with Club Shay Shay. Shutter Sharp. I fuck with that. I'm fucking with Stephen A's No Mercy. A lot of the sports ones, bro. Like, I think the sports personalities got some of the best shows right now because they're so authentic with what they do. Like, that happened at first with the rappers, but now you can start to see that game is getting kind of, you know what I mean?
Draymond's is good too.
Draymond's all them, man, all the smoke. I'm rocking with the hot boxing with Mike Tyson. On the hip hop side, 50 Years of Hip Hop with Nas and Miss Info. That's really good. And yeah, man.
Nas has a podcast?
Nas has a podcast. It's Spotify exclusive.
Oh.
But it's dope. And you know Nas's voice. Like, it's,
yeah.
Yeah. And it's produced super dope. So I would say check that out. And then every show on the Plug, man. Check out the Plug Agency. And yeah.
Why do you not drop YouTube no more?
A few different reasons. So a lot of my early episodes with the Connect weren't on film because I was doing them shits during quarantine. Mm-hmm. So we was zooming, and shit didn't look quite right. I didn't want to drop it like that. With some of the other episodes, I was so focused on making the audio quality so good. Sometimes the audio production wasn't lining up with the video. Like, I would have music breaks or, like a music bed and like little skits in between and sound effects and all that. And it didn't translate visually without trying to do all that shit on video.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one doing it. So it's like, well, I'm not a damn, videographer. Boom. So now that I actually got like a film studio to get film, like the visuals stepped up a lot. But now I'm in that. That's why I said you might start seeing more just quick content online because it goes back to the whole it's not a podcast thing. Like having that audio journey on a podcast is way different than just watching motherfuckers talk.
Yeah.
It's a difference. I personally don't like to just sit and watch Joe Budden talk on YouTube, but I could listen to him. But on the flip, I could watch 85 South Show because DC and them is all animated and shit. But
Funny.
I can't listen to it. So trying to find that balance. And now I think I found a good little pocket of how to do that. And that's just drop the interview portion of that shit. You know what I mean? And make it look all right.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about that?
Best way is to email me, connect@thatsgraffiti.com. I check my emails all day. You can hit me on Instagram. In my DMs, and that's probably the best way, bro. I don't ever answer my fucking phone, so don't do that. Right. I deleted Facebook off my shit, so like I wanted to say that too. If you see any content on Facebook, it's because I'm posting it via Instagram. So like
that's what I be having to tell people too.
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry
if you're responding or something, I don't see that. Like Facebook is just mentally draining. I can't really do that. But yeah, man, email or Instagram is probably the best way to hit me up.
Man, I want to say. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, bro.
Bro.
This is an interview I've been wanting for a long time.
I appreciate
that.
And
I wanted to write everything so I can make it happen. Buggz helped me over here at Bright Future Media make this happen.
Shouts to Buggz.
And I want to give you your flowers, bro. You doing hella shit, and I'm glad to be the generation under you coming up next as far as this platform stuff is coming. And I look forward to bringing you back in the summer to seeing where things progress.
That's love, bro, and I'll be back too. And it's crazy, man. Let me give you your flowers real quick. Like I want you to say like the generation under me. Don't say that shit, man. We in this shit together, and that's how we need to look at it too. You know what I mean? Because you got ideas, you got guests, you got shit. The questions you was asking, that ain't the same as the shit I'm doing. You know what I mean? So we both right here. I think the way we need to start looking at it is where is the end goal for all of this shit. You know what I mean? Like. We all headed towards the same shit, and neither one of us is there yet. So we just gonna run to this shit together, bro. So flowers to you, shouts to StreetNerdz, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, check this out. If you want to go get the full episode, BrightEverything right now, make sure you go subscribe, hit that bell, get notified whenever we dropped it. If you can't wait, you want to get the clips from me, go ahead, StreetNerdz Radio. We'll go ahead and get the clips, and pretty soon, hopefully, we'll be audio. You get what I'm saying? But you know what it is, StreetNerdz Radio, and we out.
Sir.